What causes people to avoid taking a risk, even if it's a low risk, but will bring them something they really, truly want? We're going to talk about it today. Keep watching. Today's video is brought to you by my mini course, Permission to Suck, Bypassing Perfection, Embracing Potential. This is a 3-lesson course with 3 bonus videos that has been the transition point for hundreds of my clients to change their relationship with failure for good. Details in the description box below. Welcome back to Mindset Monday on the ONESELF Company. I'm Christi Bovee. I'm a veteran mindset coach and voice intuitive who works with high-level professionals and pre-professionals, getting them to where they want to go, their destiny. I help people find their voice and make their sound in the world no matter what they're called to do. Last week we talked about 3 powerful ways to build confidence that may surprise you. If you missed that episode, I'm going to leave a card for it right up here. For those of you who saw that video, let me know, did it help you to look at yourself and others in a fresh way? Leave a comment down below. One thing that happens in a person with greater confidence is that their ability to take a risk is greater as well. The dictionary tells us that to risk is to expose oneself to the chance of loss. But there is another piece of literature on risk by an anonymous author that says, to laugh is to risk appearing the fool. To weep is to risk appearing sentimental. To reach out for another is to risk involvement. To expose feelings is to risk exposing your true self. To place your ideas, your dreams before a crowd is to risk their loss. To love is to risk not being loved in return. To live is to risk dying. To hope is to risk despair. To try is to risk failure. You may avoid suffering and sorrow if you don't risk, but you simply cannot learn, change, grow, love, or live without it. The greatest hazard in life is to risk nothing, and the person who risks nothing does nothing and therefore has nothing. And how fun does that sound? Only a person who's able to risk is truly free. Why do people avoid risks, even small risks? Fear of loss, failure, and perceived humiliation if the loss happens is high on the list. But why do we automatically think that we would fail? Why don't we first try and see? And then if we did fail, learn from that experience and then move on. This pattern starts in our lives as kids before the age of 8. I mean, let's face it, risk-taking is not a subject that's taught in school, though it probably should be. Some of these fears of taking a risk date back to before you can even remember. How many of us remember the adults in our lives saying things like, be careful, don't touch that, don't do that. That is too dangerous. No! Though a lot of that went in one ear and out the other, some of it hit its target and landed really deep within our hearts and our minds. It started us on the journey to playing it safe. Think of how much better equipped we would be for life if we heard messages like this. Take a chance and don't worry about falling. You're going to fall a lot at first, and that's great. In fact, let's make falling the goal because your greatest lessons in life are going to come from falling. We celebrate falling. The same is also true with failure. Failing will never make you a failure unless you quit. How many of us heard that when we were little kids? Nope, me either. The vast majority of us have been programmed to mentally always play it safe. I have the most darling grandson, and he's at the age where he could walk any day. And I've noticed something about him. He is a natural-born risk-taker. He never considers for one moment the consequences of falling as he's learning to stand and walk. Falling is seen in his little mind as a natural consequence of learning how to walk. You could call it a calculated gamble. There's a high chance that he'll try to stand up, take a step, and fall. Taking that chance is the prerequisite to him mastering a lot of the motor skills he's learning right now. It's a natural progression in a baby's life towards movement. Why can't we then, as adults, see any movement into uncharted territory with the same lens? Why can't we see the process of reaching our goals as having to take steps similar to the ones a baby must take in order to learn to walk? There will be some stumbling and falling in the learning process. That's guaranteed. But just like in a baby, our success can only be reached when we are prepared to take those steps, all of them, even the ones where we may fall down. The real win here is the confidence and experience we acquire, and that translates into new opportunities for growth, enjoyment, expansion. That goes for every area of our life. There's a 4-letter word that parents use around their kids so much that kids pick it up, and before long it is buried deep within their subconscious mind. It is the word can't. Can't is a word that paralyzes any forward movement in your life. It immediately switches your mind into the negative. It is so powerful, in fact, that it will open your mind to a never-ending flow of logical, practical reasons, which will enable you to justify why you're not able to do something you seriously want to try. The powerful foil for that four-letter word is its complete opposite. I can. One of my earliest memories is of being on skis at a ski area in Colorado. I was about 6 or 7 years old, and I'd already been skiing for a couple of years. I was so confident. I was in my element, totally unafraid. I was skiing down the hill when I came upon a small group of people huddled around a woman who was crying in the snow. They were urging her to get up and keep going, and all she could do was say over and over, "I can't, I can't." I'll never forget her southern accent, but I'll also never forget the urgency in my own soul, because before I knew it, I was shouting, "Yes, you can!" See, I've always been this way. In my world, children were seen and not heard, and I was a little concerned that my outburst would have offended this very southern woman. But her tear-stained face looked deep into my eyes. She mustered up her strength, and she got up to try again. In all honesty, this is probably where my total obsession with helping people break free and move forward in their lives began. Because reaching the goal is not success. Success is moving toward the goal. In this case, that poor lady just wanted to get to the lodge. But she had to risk the feeling of not knowing how to ski, the feeling of being out of her element, the sheer terror of it all. Taking risks is essential when you want to meet a goal. And remember, the purpose of goals is growth. When you challenge yourself, you bring more of yourself to the surface. And that can be a scary thing, but it's also so incredibly beautiful. If you dream of living your life in a really big way, like a lot of the high performers I get to work with do, you've got to accept that risk-taking is a very important part of the training you must go through. I'm going to ask you right now to make a huge decision. You must decide to change. You've got to change your relationship with risk by deciding today that you're not going to play it safe any longer. I'm going to say it again. No more playing it safe. Decide this very moment that there will be no more saving it for a rainy day. Because you know what happens when you live that way? You know what you get? A lot of rainy days. I see people every day who never let themselves take a risk. They never truly test the strength of their abilities. Stop going through your life guarded, holding everything close to your chest. It's time for you to step out and bet on the surest thing in the world, yourself. You gain strength, courage, and confidence by every experience in which you really stop to look fear in the face. Wow. Follow that advice from Eleanor Roosevelt and free yourself from the crippling emotional state of fear and walk into true freedom. History records that those who have achieved high goals have also had to take those first few steps that had a very high degree of risk. This requires you to turn your back on safety and security. It requires you to end your addiction to certainty. Take a risk and watch how your life opens up to possibility. What risks are your goals requiring you to take today? I'd love to hear about it. Leave a comment down below. Like if you like this video, and make sure to share it with someone you know needs this message. Keep finding your voice. Keep making your sound in the world. Take the risk, because somebody somewhere in the world is literally praying for you to show up. And remember, you are loved. Bye-bye.